Yeah, 5:30. Would you like to lead us? What's your name? JC. JC, would you like to lead us in the pledge? I'm sorry.
Say aye.
Careful with names. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call.
Jenny?
Here.
Roger Mayhew?
Yes.
Charles, Brenda Simmons?
Here.
Craig Scott?
Here.
Any additions or corrections to the agenda? Commissioners,
I have nothing.
anything, Commissioner Simmons?
I gotta get my stuff together. You mean anything on here?
Any additions or corrections?
And you said this is gonna be part of the budget thing?
Right. Yeah.
So I don't need it. No. We're part of the budget, no.
Public comment? Any public comment in the room on agenda items only? Any public comment in the room? On the phone? Appointments for a Brian Gilbert Sheriff related to the Animal Shelter Services. Sure, I'm sure, come on up. Good evening, guys.
Evening. So if there's anybody from the shelter. Well, you know,
On the phone?
on the phone, or
Is there anybody?
I don't see anybody.
I don't know.
I see we got an email that was forwarded to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, the point of this conversation is October 1st, the contract is up. I did sit down with a couple of their reps, including the operator of the shelter. We know that the proposed budget for 25 is zero until the millage questions answered in November. So really the first question and what we're talking about tonight is, do we fund some level based on this email of shelter services between October 1 and December 31st? You know, what do we do with that period? Depending on the answer for the millage question in November, obviously there'll be a sit down or there'll be a course set out when that millage is decided in November. But really the question is for the board, what do you want to do with the contract once it's expired? If we don't do something, we won't have shelter services, a place to take a dog. Now, this is not, we're talking 3 to 4 dogs, potentially at most a month with the current circumstances. There's gonna be dogs in arrests, traffic crashes, or the occasional stray dog that a road officer might encounter and need a place to put it on a temporary basis or part of animal control services. Until we actually get animal control, if we get animal control back up and running, then we would have to answer those questions.
It looks like they're requesting a temporary contract from October 1 through December 31st.
Yeah, that was part of the discussion. It was basically a two-phase type of thing. If you wanted to fund shelter services at some level, that we would just kind of continue the existing contract with these as considerations for what they're requesting. And then after the millage question is answered, then we can sit down and actually work out a contract to start January 1st or earlier, depending on people make decisions. But the first, so that was the window. It was that October, December 31st. Now, I think in your proposed budget for point of conversation, you had 25,000 in animal care. I saw that today.
After seeing this, I went ahead and put a placeholder in there in anticipation of the conversation tonight, but there would at least be something in there to carry us over until we know what the millage result is.
You have a recommendation? Is that what you're recommending?
I'm recommending, at least for the draft budget, the $25,000 placeholder, which will be plenty, to get us through that period.
$8,000 unless we get a heartworm dog, from my understanding. This is, we try not to call out the shelter manager very often. And there's some things you can see that will be addressed on that part, but. So for point of the conversation, Tim has put 25,000 in the proposed budget. That would get us at least till November when it's answered. And then we can reconvene on the subject and figure out an actual contract or where the course goes from there.
Commissioner Simmons, did you have something?
Yeah, they're asking for $3,000 a month. without the animal control officer,
Yep,
correct?
correct. Yep, for shelter services.
Yep. And I can understand because of the veterinary bills. And the cost to keep them there.
Commissioner Scott?
You answered my question of where the dogs come from without an officer.
Yeah, it's not as frequent. I mean,
Right.
we've used 2 to 3 dogs since the whole animal control situation developed. The road officer may run into a circumstance where he needs shelter services, but it's nowhere near the same level.
What do you do? What do you do? He gets to ride in the back seat or? Or the
Depends,
trunk?
most part, yeah. Depends
Or the
on the
trunk,
department,
you know.
because I know MSP is pretty stingent as far as, well,
Putting them in the car?
putting them in the car,
Yeah.
so.
Oh. Or do you do the Chevy Chase thing and hook it on the back bumper?
What's this after hours compensation should be discussed? What is that? What is that?
That would be for down the road. And again,
Oh.
that was what I talked about with the director.
Okay,
She gets compensated for her job there, but she has on occasion come out to help with scenes
okay,
and management of dogs.
I'm sorry.
And there should be, obviously, she's doing that after hours using her vehicle and equipment from Ray Shelter, right? There should be some discussion of the compensation for that. To protect her and compensate her for those actions. That's all that is, but that would be something in the final contract.
So I guess they wanted to know if we're willing to do a temporary contract?
Yeah, and I would suggest that we do that and we could get with them by the time we do the next committee, the whole meeting, get something in place and at least for the 3 months.
That gives us a little bit of time, after the millage question.
You're offering them what, $2,500?
We've set aside 25,000.
I mean, 25,000.
Budget, but I'm not saying that's what the contract would do. We've got the 3,000 number that's mentioned in this email, but we'll talk to them directly and find out, because I also don't know what other expenses that they end up having on top of this. Commissioner Simmons, you've mentioned before about the medical care for an animal that maybe comes in and has some issue that needs to be addressed, and that can get expensive in a hurry. So we'll need to just kind of talk about that with Ray to make sure that we have a good understanding of what that is. I think with that placeholder, well, that would be plenty to cover any expense for the 3-month period.
Okay. Well, I'm just thinking of, it's not just taking the animal in and feeding them and the vet bills, it's, take care of them, walking them, the lights, the heat, the water, the food, the everything.
25,000 should definitely cover it for 3.
Yeah, should.
And that gives us a little time after the,
5,000.
that gives a little time after the ballot question too, to come up with a concrete answer, what we're gonna do moving forward. So I'm okay with that. Are you okay with that, Commissioner Scott?
Sure. Yeah, if
Okay.
the question. If it passes, that'll be a whole different ballgame then.
Right.
Yeah, sure, to get.
And if
through
it doesn't, it'll be a whole different ballgame.
Yeah,
No, either way, it's a whole.
either
different
way,
ballgame.
either way, different games,
Thanks, guys.
different games, yeah.
4B, Tony Dubay, Transit Director. Come on, Ray.
It's Christmas.
Okay, it's living the dream.
Hi,
Hi, nice to see you again. How's it going? We'll start with that.
It's going.
Are you learning everything?
We're learning
Good.
every day.
So it looks like first we have the annual tire purchase.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so, just requesting approval, to do our annual tire purchase. Total purchase right now is gonna be $7,819.44. For the transit buses, we're trying to get 48 tires or replacement tires, along with 12 new tires for our transit van as well. And then an additional 78 tires to dispose of, which are all the used tires that we have at the transit building.
We do this every winter, correct?
Yep.
Who are we going through?
It's Jam Best One in Bay City.
Cause I didn't think it said it. Did I miss that on there?
Used to be Millar's. And they've been taken over.
And they come right to us, correct?
Oh, yeah, and they'll take all the scrap tires at that time.
Questions,
And
comments?
give us documentation that they have scrapped the tires, that's important. For MDOT.
Have you guys got estimates from any other places or do you just stick with the same?
We had another company that was disposing of our tires and they were up to $4 a tire. And for this year, they're gonna charge us $2.
No. Commissioner Scott?
Well, they're a my deal
Oh, it's,
outfit.
actually, it's,
Or is it MDOT deal?
it's school bus pricing,
Oh, yeah, you can't. Everybody's the same price.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Questions?
Nope.
Tim, you have any questions?
I'm just looking at that price. I had to get tires over the weekend for a car and I didn't get this deal.
I know,
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Get rid of a tire for $2. That's
yeah, that's pretty good.
unreal. Yeah.
Paving project RFP 09-24.
So we had some bids come in and it was approved. So we're just seeing if it was all right with you guys that we can get that done.
It was approved by
The
the transit.
grant, sorry.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, we got the grant.
we have the grant
So-
money. The grant is $100,000 and the lowest bid, I believe, was 115, but we have adequate money to pay for that. This grant was applied for in 2019, so
It looks like you got 3 bids,
Yeah.
Hodgins, Pyramid, and
Yeah.
Mid-Michigan Asphalt.
but it has to be submitted to the state for their approval also.
And you want this done before snow flies?
As soon as we can get it done, yeah.
Questions, comments? So this is gonna be refunded.
Yeah.
All but 15,000 of it, yeah.
It's pretty good.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Commissioner Scott,
That's great. I like it. Yeah.
anything?
Okay.
Needs it.
Okay,
Certainly does.
you planning on going with the 115.8?
Yes,
Okay, as long as,
we have to go by the lowest bid. According to state guidelines, we do.
okay. Overhead doors.
For the overhead doors and the entry doors, those are gonna be sent back out with updates. I can't remember honestly.
Well, the overhead doors, and it's my fault, I put the solicitation together. And one gentleman that the solicitation was sent to came back with a whole bunch of questions that I didn't even know would have been a question for an overhead door, but evidently it is, so. Tim suggested that we resubmit the proposal or the RFPs to these people with this added information, and it was the R factor of the door, the size of the windows, just a bunch of questions that we decided to put on the RFP to make it fair for everyone to bid.
Is this for the new construction or?
No, this is the old one. We just have a grant to replace 2 of our overhead doors and 3 of our entry doors.
So this is gonna be grant funded as well?
Oh, yes.
Both the overhead and the entry?
Mhm.
Wow. Questions? So you're just asking us to do another RFP?
I guess, yes.
Wow. Questions?
No, I don't think, this will make sense.
Well, that was quick and painless, guys. Anything else?
I don't have anything.
What's the time frame on that?
Um,
On the door project
I don't know.
for the state reimburse or for this grant?
Once we decide on who we're going to, purchase the doors from, then again, we have to submit it to the state for state approval. And basically, when we submit all this information to the state, they are investigating to make sure that we have met all our guidelines as far as, what would they call it, a fair and reasonable effort to make sure that everybody gets a chance to bid on this that is in the business. And they have to, sign off on it also. And then we have to submit a bunch more documentation to what's called Project Wise. And then that's how we are paid from the state of Michigan. It's complicated.
Okay. Everything's going well? Are you
Oh, yeah.
are you slowing down?
Yeah, a little bit because he's there and he's taking the load off. And
Good.
I mean, since day one, I told him, you're the boss. I'll answer to you. I have no problem with that. And we seem to get along really well.
Good. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
5, discussion items, indigent council agreement.
This is a agreement that you see every year as well for indigent attorneys. The pricing is listed in the contract for the attorneys whose names should look very familiar. They're the same ones that we've seen for a few years now. And really, there's not a whole lot more for me to say about it unless you have questions.
This is annually, correct?
It is,
Is there something about that?
yes,
Is there what?
right there.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't go quick.
Now, the indigent council is able to apply for money for a corrections officer, correct?
Yes, part-time
Right.
correction officer. I'm just pointing out on the signature page, you see that 3 of the attorneys have already signed off on it, and this came from Judge Williams, and he's just looking for his signature. Oh, he didn't sign it, Jeff, pending your approval, but he's already reviewed it and is satisfied with everything that's in it, that everything matches all the requirements that we have to meet.
Is this one in Aaron, is it outside of Ogemaw County? Isn't Broughton and Sprague in Aranet County?
I don't know where they are. And I'm not sure that there's a requirement that they be in this county, other than if they're going to represent an indigent client in this county, these terms will apply.
Okay, I just seen that name and that's where their office is. I didn't know if this was just for Ogemaw County. Questions? Comments?
I had a discussion with Will Ingman a couple weeks ago. I'm okay with this.
Commissioner Simmons?
Does this include all the stuff when they go appeal a case and all that sort of stuff?
That would be a very good question for Judge Williams. I'm not that familiar with the court process. I don't think this is for appeals. This is for representation. If somebody is arrested and can't afford the attorney, this is the pool that the attorneys are chosen from.
You know, but for some reason, I think this also pays for appeal, which is above what this is.
Yeah.
So. No, I have a problem with it.
Commissioner Mayhew? Isn't this that we're looking at this cost? So I just would, it's all, it's funded, correct? It's all
Yeah.
reimbursed or, okay, I thought so.
100% or?
Well, in our case, it's been more than 100%. I'm sure because we haven't spent everything, so.
All right.
And Mr. Ingman's, he runs this program,
He's the
correct?
lead, yeah.
Okay.
We have to sign it.
Well, they put that on there. Technically, only the chair needs to sign, but sometimes people like to see everybody on there.
I don't even see the chair.
Yeah, it's on there.
Someplace.
Property and liability insurance proposals.
Okay, we sent out bids because this is 3 years are up. We received one proposal, which we'll open in just a second. There is one other note, though, that was at your spot here tonight from Acrisure. This is at least a nationwide, if not a worldwide, insurance group. And just want to point out a few things. They are not submitting the proposal, although we looked at everything that we're asking for, but a few things that they state. The first one is in the middle of that second paragraph. He writes, unfortunately, but good for Ogemaw, you are currently represented by the correct insurance company, in our opinion, the Travelers. Travelers is one of very few insurance companies that will insure municipalities outside of the MMRMA and the MML groups and so on. But that third paragraph down, just to state, we did approach several other municipal insurance companies and none were willing to provide optional or competitive quotes at this time. Some were blocked, meaning that they had agreements with others, like MMRMA is actually can't bid on us because they have an agreement with Travelers not to bid on communities that have Travelers because of reinsurance arrangement they have. Others could not compete with Travelers due to our losses, financial situation, having been approached multiple times recently. Well, we've only put out one every 3 years, or they could not match Travelers quotes. It wasn't so much this quote that they couldn't match, but they looked at our prior quote from 3 years ago and were saying we couldn't compete with that. But the thing I want to point out is our losses in our current financial situation. They didn't feel that they could put a proposal in for us at this time. What that means with the financial position is this: it's Many of these companies, the MMRMA does this, would require us to put up a retention and maintain a retention fund. Usually these are somewhere in the $1 to $2 million range, and they're looking at our finances and saying, you don't have $1 to $2 million to put up on retention. So what happens with those, rather than getting a bill every month like we do for any kind of coverages that we're meeting, particularly if we're in court, they just maintain this retention fund. They take the funding out of there, and then once a year, we're required then to supplement that retention fund back to whatever that limit was, $1 or $2 million. And they're just not seeing any viability for us right now to be able to do that. Honestly, we are fine. I think the way we're doing it right now, we have a line in the 901 department that covers the attorney fees that we've seen, and we've not exceeded that in any year, at least that I've been here. So what we're doing is fine. But that also give you an appreciation for the difference. We budget something in the neighborhood of 50 to 60,000 a year for this. They want, $1 to $2 million on retention. So we may be better off in years. But finally, on the back page, they would just like to be considered in the future if we have any other these proposals that go out. This one that we issued the RFP for, we asked for 3 years worth of coverage, and that's what I expect when I open this that we'll see. Unfortunately, this, it came in on time. It doesn't tell me anywhere on it who it came from, but I'm pretty confident just with the shape of everything that's from Diebold. But I'll go ahead and open it. So our policy says we open these at public meetings. See what's in here.
How sad if these guys wouldn't even give us a quote though, because of our current situation.
Well, they want to do their retention.
I
That's how they
understand,
operate.
I see the verbiage, but they just provided politically correct terminology to say, no, thank you.
MMRMA is very expensive.
Last time there was, what was the name of the company last time that did not quote us, that for the same reason?
Right, yeah, I
It
remember
wasn't
that.
Aquasure, it was
I remember.
that Michigan one, not the
MMRMA.
No, it wasn't.
That one's the most expensive one.
Yes, very.
We've looked at that year after year, contract after contract, they're way, they cover everything, but you spend a ton of money on that.
Again, just how sad they won't even give us a quote.
Yeah,
That's what they said.
right. Oh, yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely. And
Thanks, but no thanks.
that one 3 years ago would not give us a quote based on our history.
Claims, yeah.
That's based on our claims. Too many car crashes.
I think there was a couple different things. Too many claims.
Some of them are at fault.
Well, I think they put right in their automobile.
There was quite a few deer that year.
Sure.
You put everything in there but quote.
Yeah, just about, it says quote, behind that tab, but I'm seeing coverages. Yeah, miss. The total estimated annual premium, and this includes property, commercial liability, employee benefits, coverage, commercial inland marine, law enforcement liability, public entity management, public entity employment, commercial auto physical damage, and umbrella coverages. And this is the whole thing. Their quote is $324,545. Off the top of my head, I don't know what we're budgeted for this year, but this is more, I'm confident to say that. Do is, we'll go back now that this has been open and make sure this figure is entered into the budget in the correct place. We've actually got it broken down too. We segregate the auto liability from the umbrella, a few other breakdowns as well. And being that it's the only bid and we need insurance, I would suggest that we accept it.
Well, I'd like to know, I don't disagree, we have to October 1st, right?
Yes.
I'd like to know what we pay last year.
Well,
We need to know that.
the second.
Second page is insurance and bonds, but if you say we're breaking.
That's considerably more on this. The 324,545, it's on page 2 at the very bottom. 244.9 is what's in here, but the 324 also covers like the transit fund. There'll be a portion that goes to the road patrol millage fund. and a few others so this isn't all a general fund expense. So that's what I mean by I've got to go back out, I'll get into this thing, I'll find out how much it costs us to insure transit building and buses, how much the insurance is for the fleet over at the sheriff's office and so forth, and can break it out and put it into the right activity in the budget.
What was the cost you were seeing last year? Just the
Well,
one,
for the general fund, it was 230,934 is what we had budgeted. And that probably came right from a quote that we got from Debo for this year. But as I said, that's not the whole number because we got quite a bit of assets out of transit, for instance. I hear every year from transit and from building inspections about their fleet number, that how high that is. So I'll, like I said, break this out and be able to tell you, can even, because I'm sure everybody will be waiting in suspense. I'll let you know tomorrow about how that breakdown.
Yeah, can you? Commissioner Simmons?
Yeah, I'd just like to know what the total cost of the whole premium was. I don't care how it broke down.
Full premium quote is 324,545.
But what did we pay last year for that whole premium?
Well, that's what he says. He's gotta go through and add everything up.
Yeah, it's not all here. It just
Like,
goes over.
like right here, I'm looking at road patrol millage, it was 34,000.
But doesn't the clerk's office just get one bill? They don't get one for claims, one for this, one for that, one for that.
We get it by business segment. So for instance, we'll get something for all the cars, and then we have to break out to assign which department gets the bill
Right.
for that vehicle. So building inspection says vehicles will get billed, some sheriff's office will get billed.
And when we get a bill for each one of those, we just add those up instead of going to every department, really.
Yeah.
You-
But it'll be,
Don't have so many places to look.
but it'll be in the budget.
Yes, it will.
So you get us that information. I mean, obviously, we have to accept this, but I would like, again, I think everybody needs to know what the cost difference is from last year, this year, and possibly an explanation. There's a significant increase. Any other questions on that, guys?
It looks
I'd like
like
to know something.
Go ahead.
Are they incident based or are they claims based insurance company?
Well, I know the claims impact our rates.
Well, what I mean by that is this, when it's incident based, let's say it happened. Last year and somebody else is already insuring us, but they were insuring us. So if it's incident based, I don't think people would pay for it. But if the claim has to be made while the policies in, with us, when it's open. But if it goes back to here, and it's incident based, they wouldn't pay. That's the only reason I'm asking. Claims based means you gotta make the claim while the policy's in effect.
Right.
But incident based that's not necessarily so. Because if they're not insuring us still, then they wouldn't have to pay it.
Fortunately, we'll have the same barrier all the way through.
Right. I like the cost analysis.
just to give you a couple ideas, I mean, transit building liability insurance was $2,000. We budgeted last year. Insurance I would believe for vehicles or whatever was 48,000. That's 50,000 there. And then what I say on road patrol, it was 34,000. So you're looking at 84,000 right there on top of the 244. So you're just over 300,000, 310, something like that. And now you got a number of 324. I don't think it's gonna be,
I don't think it's that much.
I don't think it's gonna be a big, huge difference.
No, I agree, but we need to
I
know.
think I looked at it earlier today and I don't think it's.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
I mean, it's more, but it's not astronomical more.
Okay.
I don't think they're taking advantage that nobody else is bidding us. You know.
All right, MA housing agreement.
You have on at your seats tonight, I guess the agreement with Gladwin County. We met with the Gladwin County Undersheriff and Jail Administrator yesterday and walked through this. What we've come up with, and what we'll be recommending, a 1-year agreement And that's for all concerned, so we'll all have a good trial run for a single year before getting into a multi-year agreement. So this would take effect, assuming the budget is approved, next Thursday. This would take effect the next day, on September 27th. And would be valid through September 30th of 25. Couple of things of note. The first one, clearly what's the cost, and what Gladwin County asked for, which is actually pricing better than we had before, was $30 per bed per inmate per day. There is no cap on it. There is no lump sum required. It's just, we bring an inmate, it's $30 per day, whatever our number is. Question.
Okay, let's say they're taken in at 11 PM on Monday. And they leave at 9 AM Tuesday. That means we gotta pay $60, right?
That's 2 days, yes.
Less than 24 hours, 2 days.
Why would we take them there at 10 o'clock at night and take them and then pull them back out the next day?
But I don't know what the process is gonna be yet.
I mean, if they can bond out that, they can stay overnight here.
Well, can they bond out on Saturdays and Sundays?
I think so. We got magistrates that work over the weekend.
Can they? I don't know that, can they,
Yes.
Sheriff? Okay, that's all I need to know. Got it. Just clarifying that in my mind.
Go ahead.
This.
I don't have anything more necessarily to call out in here. The material or the draft document that you saw with the red lines was, I mean, that's this document. So most of. Yes, we did change. There was a typo identifying the wrong county in one spot that we did fix. We did attach to this per Gladwin's recommendation, their policy for prisoner intake. So, I mean, it's very helpful to have, just to have the detail. The rest of this, you probably have seen once or twice already in the various versions of contracts we've looked at. Most of this was left alone. Just things like the indemnification and so on. The medical costs, we talked about that yesterday. Particularly on 9D, when it talks about if we have an inmate that requires offsite medical, and rather than us sending somebody down to watch, if Gladwin had to do that after a 4-hour period, they've got a cost in here at $48.50 per hour. Where this comes into play, and I appreciate they're bringing this up. If they take somebody into, for a doctor's appointment, it ends up lasting, say, 4.5 hours or 5 hours. So rather than getting our people into the transport and getting them down to Gladwin and then having to come back, that's probably more time than what the inmate would need to be there. So the $48.50 actually works out better for us. But at least it's there. It's not to say that we wouldn't do that, but it's there if Gladwin needed to cover.
And it doesn't look like they're asking us to pay half of the medical neither, correct?
No.
And we can opt out for no cause for 30 days,
Exactly.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. Questions, comments?
Just one other thing, Gladwin County will be considering this at a board meeting on Tuesday, which is ahead of our meeting, but by the time we meet next week, we should have their approval.
Has our corrections department looked at this?
We all had the meeting yesterday. So yes.
Commissioner Scott?
I attended the meeting yesterday and they both departments were able to talk back and forth, shop talk and I kind of was looking at that 4-hour thing. I thought that was like an ultimatum that we'd have to send somebody down there, and it really wasn't. They don't mind staying over the 4 hours. They're just asking us to pay for the hourly rate, which, yeah, I understand that.
That $48.50 an hour per person.
Per each officer that's needed, yes. I mean, we were doing that to Oscoda. We said so many hours away, and then we were billing them. So it's not like it's uncommon. I was very surprised how much commonality, is that a word? Between the two departments, there was, as they were discussing it. And part of your question before, they do take them at 10 o'clock at night or anytime, weekends, whatever, because they're there. So, you know,
How many bed facility is
We-
it? I'm sorry.
it's okay. It's just, the problem child can go down there anytime. If we get the problem child here, we can send them down there.
How many beds do they have there?
I don't know.
I think they
At the
told us
jail.
70.
You know, Sheriff?
Yesterday.
72.
You guys have
I usually put it on mute.
Commissioner Simmons.
I thought I was at the
Do you
ball
have
game.
anything? Oh,
Yeah,
do you have anything?
I do. You said that when we had Miles people or Oscoda at $31 a day, that it cost us 30,000 out of the general fund that we lost because we had them. But these people are gonna take ours at 30. They like us well enough to lose money?
I don't know that they are losing money. Now, they're a smaller facility than what we're operating. I don't know what their staffing levels are or how they operate. I don't know the answer to that. I'm sure they do.
I don't know what their medical cost is. A lot of things. we don't
Right,
know.
but you was telling us $66, then you got down to 36.60 something
Right.
change,
Mhm.
and they can do it for 30.
This is their price. We're not arguing with them on their price.
Well, way back when,
Well, I get that.
to the state, and they were paying 35.
I get that, yeah. They are charging and collecting a room and board fee also. I talked to their jail administrator. They charge for room and board and they collect it. They do a very good job of collecting it.
So our
They
inmates,
bragged about it being a moneymaker.
so our inmates will be charged?
I said, I don't know why you wouldn't, but I don't know. If they don't, I think we should charge them.
Can't stay there.
Why
Was
not?
that- Was that question asked
Going.
in the meeting?
Yeah, it was. And there was a follow-up this morning. Their jail administrator actually called me and offered that, anytime we want, that they'll be happy to share their process.
So are they planning on charging our inmates? Did that answer the question?
We asked that yesterday. I think they said they weren't going to, but.
That's what
Do you,
the jail administrator told me. He wasn't planning on it, but I said, why not?
do you guys have any questions, comments to this contract?
This is 1 year contract?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I like that idea.
No?
Just see how it goes. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
How many miles is it to Gladwin?
I calculated it'd be a 60-mile round trip.
And in this cost, you have it that will make 2 trips per day?
That's what I used to calculate, two trips on weekdays, 1 trip a day on weekends. Looked up our van, the average is something like 13 miles to the gallon, so figured $40 a gallon. With that many trips.
Well, courts are only on Tuesday and Thursday and what, every other Wednesday?
I'd rather overestimate.
Yeah, right. We're overestimating. But if there's no money arrested, if everybody's hauled down on Sunday, they got arrested over the weekend. Nobody gets arrested on Sunday night, there's nobody to take Monday. If nobody gets arrested during the day, there's nobody to take down on Monday afternoon.
But then,
Or you could just wait until Tuesday morning, when you're gonna run down and get them for court. You take whoever got arrested in the last 2 days.
How's their technology as far as like Zoom? Cause I hear the judges are pretty, wanna make sure that that's up and running efficiently and effectively.
so they have Zoom, I forget the name of the other.
Polycom.
Yes, they have both Polycon and Zoom, and apparently are very comfortable with them.
In confidential areas, all of that stuff's been looked
They
at.
have to have that as part of their operation.
There was a difference in, correct me if I'm wrong. The jail communication. You're on Motorola or they're on Motorola.
Yeah, they're on a different system than we are, so they'll have to book them down there in their system.
That was the only communications difference.
Is that a big difference? I don't know anything about this stuff.
No, they said they'd just book them anyway.
It's just kind of weird because weren't they talking about closing? They were talking about, we were talking about housing there, so we got a cost together and what changed?
Apparently they repaired their facility.
Well, they passed a public safety, an all-encompassing public safety, millage.
Oh, it did pass?
Yeah.
You
And
sure?
that was road patrol, that was jail, that was anything, that was emergency management. It had a number of different things in it.
So they did some repairs to their jail.
I understand. It is.
Again, the fiscal lady.
Okay,
The part of the contract says it has to be up to, the jail has to be up to snuff, and they say it is.
okay. Questions? Any other questions, guys?
No.
And if it doesn't work, we have a 30-day out. Again, I don't like that we're here.
So we vote on that next week,
That would come up,
if they approve it.
right? Yeah, if they don't, then
Well, it'll just take them a little longer. They have all their meetings in 2 days of a month. They have their workshop and then they have their board meeting, and it happens on the second and fourth Tuesdays.
So their meetings are like.
Some counties that are like that. They have workshops in the morning and then regular meetings. So, I mean, I don't know if they're listening to us now, but I think they'd really like to have a good feeling that we're gonna pass it.
Was there a minimum of beds that they're holding for us?
No.
I know we're not being charged, but like, can we only have 30 inmates and then we have to look for another facility, or are they saying they can handle everything we have?
they said right now they can handle everything we have, but there is a backup at, well, I mean, what I know of is at Clara, the sheriff had mentioned another county too. But that's where their mutual aid will come into play. If we need to find another location for a body, we could do that.
They're not housing any other, from any other counties?
Didn't sound like it. I didn't ask, but it didn't sound like it.
Our sentenced inmates can go any place because they're all done with court. And they'll just be sentenced until the end of their sentence, and oh,
I'll have them go to prison.
the only other thing that the sheriff asked if they would take their personal belongings with them over there at first. At first, they were saying that they wanted us to keep that stuff, but they agreed with the sheriff and would take their personal belongings that way. Like, I didn't understand it all, but it made perfect sense. They're gonna wanna walk out wearing their own clothes. They're done wearing the pajamas, I guess, at that point, so they wanna wear their own jeans, so they gotta be there where they're at.
I know, I would just like that answered. If you could find that out as far as if they house any other inmates, because you know, the inmates, while they're in there for whatever period of time, they do develop relationships with other inmates from other counties, and that's something that we need to be aware of. That can sometimes be a bad thing.
Just
More
like
connections for worse things or other things or further things. I would like that answer. Commissioner MERS eligibility.
Yeah, this is a follow-up to a question that was posed as to whether commissioners were eligible for the MERS benefit. And the answer is yes, and we knew it was yes because Commissioner Scott is already receiving that benefit. But we couldn't find, when the question was asked, how that occurred. Well, it turns out, after a bit of digging on MERS part, the commissioners are listed, but they're listed under a division that says Sheriff Administration. Makes no sense, but that's where it was. So going back to this is a defined contribution plan that's exactly like what you offer the employees, where you would make a contribution and the county would match that up to 7% of your wage. Because this really actively offered, what MERS has suggested is that, and I will talk to each of you individually about this, that we find out what you would like to see contributed out of your we call it a stipend. It's not exactly a wage. It's kind of small.
Compensation.
What you would like to have deducted for the retirement program, and then the county would match that again up to 7%. This will go back to your date of hire, which would be your first year on the commission. So that's going to be like 21 or 23, depending on when you were elected. And then we'll do the calculations to make sure everything is placed where it needs to be. Now, thing of caution that I'll tell you now, and I will remind you when we get the forms around, is that whatever election you choose for your contribution, it's a one-time election, you cannot change it.
Right.
So if you only choose 3%, that's it. You can't do anything more than that at any point. And this is just for the defined contribution. You are eligible as well for the 457 plan, but that's 100% out of your pocket. There's no match for that. The other point, just to make sure that you understand, it does have a 6-year vesting on it. So you've got to be in the program for 6 years. Then you're
Well, I think there's an age limit also, isn't it?
Oh, I thought you were,
No,
You're
no,
serious?
serious, I thought.
Yeah, there is. I was vested when I started.
When I first got in, that,
I was old enough.
right,
Yeah, not familiar enough with the details to that
No,
level
I've been
myself, but these are the.
been
things
here
that-
the 6 years anyway, so.
So they did point me to what form I need to get to you. I'll do that, in fact, maybe before the next meeting. I can be here early and we can go over it, get everybody's signature and get it filed, and we're off and running.
because the next term's 4 years.
Right.
Questions, guys?
Well, I think that the only reason like a couple didn't get to it before, like Commissioner Newbecker, he didn't get in, he didn't really think he was gonna stay for the full 6 years to be vested anyway, so why dump money down the hole? I don't know, I put in the max 15%, of course, the county only matches up to 7, but I mean, we retained that through the years. We dropped the healthcare, and then we dropped all the
Mileages.
mileages and the per diems and all that stuff.
Yep.
Well, it's just you first got to save your money before anything else goes into it. So.
Any other comments? Personnel manual? I don't think we've had time to even address that.
No.
I know we will, Commissioner Simmons, you're running out of time and we had some pretty good ideas there, so we need to
I know.
make sure we get that addressed. County building accessibility project.
Nothing new to report there either.
Okay, fiscal year 2025 budget review.
If we could, I'd like to walk through the 3 resolutions that were on the iPads first, so that again, we just have the basic understanding of what they are. The first one that pops up is the one for the elected official wages. This one has been modified a little bit based on legal opinion we received. Gosh, back there was still snow on the ground. The attorneys looked at, not just for us, but for Michigan Association of Counties, looked at the statute to just clarify who falls under this, what we used to just call the countywide elected official rule about once the wages are set, they can't be reduced during the term of office. And the interpretation focused on that small section called other public officers, which is primarily your chief deputies, people who are appointed by the elected official and work at their pleasure at will. Chief deputy county clerk, for instance, would be one. So you see a few different positions on here that you didn't see before, and that's one of them, that chief deputy county clerk. The wages that you see here are exactly as we've talked about with the budget. It's what they are this year. There's no increase put to them. There is one change or one position in here that we haven't resolved yet. We're going to need to work with the bargaining unit, and that concerns the jail administrator versus a jail lieutenant. Difference, your jail administrator under this format would be an exempt employee, meaning not subject to overtime rules. And would be at the pleasure of the sheriff versus a lieutenant who is subject to the collective bargaining agreement. So we haven't quite resolved that yet, but including it here in case it is resolved in the manner proposed. The other positions aside, well, the assistant prosecuting attorney is another one that's added here now. We don't have chief deputies in the treasurer's office or the register of deeds. If we did, they'd be listed here as well. Again, this is a point of beginning for a new term, so these would be the base amounts for these positions for 4 years. They can increase, they can't go below this number. And that's the gist of it right now. These numbers are included in the budget. And that's what that's all about. Are there any questions?
That's what they're making now, right?
Yes,
So that's not an increase,
that's not an increase.
okay? Well, I just see the 2% stuff up there and blah, blah, blah.
They opted for no increase, correct?
I'd say it again.
There's a 2% something or other in there.
Did
Oh,
the,
go back the other way.
So this one,
No.
Not that
Oh, that one's for us,
that's
isn't
for
it?
you.
Yeah.
did they opt for the no increase?
The elected officials.
Mhm.
I didn't give them a choice.
That's my question.
I mean, I don't want to speak for them, but if you want to give them an increase, I don't think they protest.
No, I think, I also think, and I don't know, you're gonna ask them tomorrow. I think they're assuming, cause no one's getting a raise,
Well, the
they
budget-
assume that they're not getting one either.
Right, all their budgets reflect 0%, so this wouldn't be news. to
Yeah,
them.
I think they already know that.
Commissioner Scott?
Well, I mean, it's just as Tim's just said, it follows what we're in bargaining with right now. This is why it's so important to pass this budget with a fund balance in it, so we got something to stand on next year and be able to increase wages and salaries. And we're at zero. We're at zero.
Commissioner Mayhew?
On this, I don't know, wage freeze or whatever it is you're calling it, can they promote internally to get a raise? They
Yes.
can.
So if somebody has a step increase, that's still valid. It's just that we're not increasing the pay scales. So you might have a step increase for 1 through 5 years. Those are still valid. We're not doing an increase across the entire grid. That's it. It's just those.
But if
step
somebody-
increases.
They want to give somebody a raise, they promote them and they got the raise.
Yeah, if there's a promotion, anything like that is still valid. It's just that we're not doing anything to the scale itself. We're just leaving that where it is.
Is there any incentive? I understand the no funds. I get that. It's just nice to also give some type of and not money. This is a crazy, ridiculous question. Is there any incentive for elected officials that doesn't reflect a wage increase? Is there anything else? They're obviously not part of the union negotiation. Is there any other option is what I'm asking you?
We can throw them a party.
We tried that. That's typically not very well.
Careful on what you spend your money on.
I agree.
No, it's a fair question.
Is there
but
anything?
We've never done that because the county has always matched to the union agreements and.
Right, they're
just
not union.
about it. Well, no. What I'm saying is the conditions. Well,
Oh,
I know why you're
I
shaking
see
your
what you
head
mean.
because all the conditions are always been said that way. We match along. It's our non-union people that not elected officials, but non-union
Okay,
people.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
and we've always said that.
Yeah.
We've never built in incentives. Now, I've said incentives from the get-go because I like incentive pay.
I know you do.
Something that's non-pay, again, just to show that they're appreciated. I think that's huge too. Huge to employees. Yes,
But
ma'am.
he was right. It applied to everybody but the non-elected officials, because the non-elected officials, the elected officials went quite a while without any increase.
Right, I did.
If you can
Yeah.
come up with anything just to show some appreciation, that won't cost us money, it'll be greatly appreciated.
Brainstorm about that. We've got
Well,
some.
we may have But for this level here, because they're at will and elected. Of course, we're in the middle of negotiations. We'd have to negotiate with the union for the union workers on any kind of a
I'm just talking about the elected
benefit of
officials
some sort.
there. Is what I'm talking about.
I think we're opening a can of worms if you try to do something like that, just leave it status quo like it is right now. Like the agreements are, everybody's been freezed, period.
Like I say,
It
I'm
was a
sorry. I don't
suggestion.
wanna talk
I
out.
know, I'm just saying it, I think be opening a can of worms.
Tim, go ahead.
Well, that I said, I'll mull it over. I can't, at the top of my head, think of any no cost options, but I don't know. I mean, let's put our minds together and do something.
Again, it's nice every year to show appreciation and for people to feel appreciated and that it's noticed. Yes, ma'am.
Well, the same thing goes with all the employees, because no one's getting.
I know, but right now we're currently talking about specifics. Go ahead, Tim. Our next, if you come up with anything, let me know. Just brainstorming.
Next one I want to talk about, and it's a little more problematic this year than it has been in the past, and that's your wages. The statute that you operate under allows this board to set the wages, rates for compensation for the next board. This is your only opportunity to do that because these boards cannot set their own wages. And this coming year, you're running for 4-year terms. So we've got to spread this over 4 years. And now you're really going to have to get into your crystal ball and decide, is there, are things going to be better by 2027? So it's just something to think about. Now, right now, you've got the current compensation numbers in there. I do see a typo, Commissioner Simmons, thanks for pointing it out, that 2% shouldn't be up there in the third whereas. So that'll be removed for the final resolution. Another question for you, and to be it further resolves after the grid. Those concern the per diem rates, and I know you don't take per diems when you have committee meetings right now. You just don't. You can just delete it. You don't have to have these in the resolution if that's how you want it. If it's in here because they're per diems, well, there's the word shall. I was going to say you don't have to take per diem. But the resolution says you shall take it, so maybe we change that to a may if you want to leave it in here. But if you're committed to not taking per diem for the entire term, we can take those 2 paragraphs right out, and then it's no longer a question.
Commissioner Scott?
Well, can we, with the 2%, can we make that the beginning date farther out? Can we go to 25?
You can set it for any.
Because if we don't put it in now at the beginning of 4, it'll never come back. We can't increase this any other time. What I'm saying is, that's what I'm saying. If we pass this budget here with the fund balance, we can afford better wages and salaries for everybody. And I don't wanna leave us out the next 4 years. I mean, if we can continue to have a fund balance, then there can be something. Now, as far as the per diems, we have voted in the past to drop all per diems for these meetings. Well, these meetings were taken out immediately when we dropped the health insurance back 7 years ago. And we took the per diems off of these meetings, and then we took them off all the other meetings, all the committee meetings and everything else, except where an entity pays a per diem. Then they pay our commissioners out of their bundle, out of their fund. So I just soon stay with the point that we dropped our per diems over the years. But I'd just as soon say something like beginning 25 or something like that. On the percentage.
Right, just for clarification, I don't know if you mean your beginning of 25 or the beginning of 26.
Oh, 26, I'm sorry.
26.
Oh, you got beginning January 24.
Yeah, that's got it, ignore those types.
We're past that point. So yeah, I would say 26, yeah, beginning 26.
Commissioner Simmons?
Well, could you put in there that it would start effective when the other employees get their raises?
We could, but rather than having that grid, put another resolve that said your increases will mirror what, in my contract has that in there, and that's where I'll take it from. It just says will mirror the non-union increase. It's struggling for the words though, but just mirror whatever the non-union increase is for that year. So if it's 1%, 1% would automatically be added to yours as well.
That'd be fine with me. That'd be fine with me.
And that way-
Same as the other
Fair.
elected officials.
Cause I don't wanna be.
I would say-
Over here anyways, I've
I
been
would say
fired.
mirror the other elected officials, so that we're all elected.
Elected officials.
Yes, some of the at-wills may change different than the elected, so. Especially if we eventually put in some types of incentive program.
So.
Commissioner Mayhew.
I just think it'd be much more fair.
I agree with parts of that. I definitely don't agree with any type of raise right now, but I don't think the public realizes also, like, I attend 12 meetings a month. How much time this position actually takes, which is a lot. They sat there and figured it out with that wage is actually losing money. We're definitely not making any type of money. 12 meetings a month. Meetings last anywhere from,
It's 144 meetings.
the meetings last anywhere, the shortest one's about 30 minutes to 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
In the evening. They're quite extensive, let alone mileage, gas. We definitely don't do this job for any type of compensation. I'm very happy about the MERS. That was really the only incentive that I see at this point in time. I don't agree also with the per diem. I agree with taking that right out. I do plan on making some changes moving forward because Zoom has made things much easier, I think, for the public, like as far as township meetings. I'm gonna change mine, like one of the previous commissioners used to do, is just attend them quarterly versus monthly because of the 12 meetings per month and the time. People are able to tune in now. They're able to contact us. Our township meetings are not mandatory. We attend them voluntarily. I think that's also forgotten from time to time. My one township meeting is 2.5 hours. It typically goes to about 9:15 at night.
Your supervisor will take care of that. So.
My mom will take care of that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I just think that's nice to know. Not everybody knows how many meetings that we attend at townships, at the county level, how much time it takes. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot. So I take out the per diem. Let's revisit this next year, see where we're at. This year, I don't think anything should change. So
The thing is next year, unless we put in that mirroring, we can't raise it next year.
if we're still in financial hardship, we can deny it though, correct?
Well, if they don't get it, it mirrors somebody else. If they ain't getting a raise,
Right, but we
They
can't,
don't show
we
up.
can't look at our compensation next year and give ourselves a raise. We have to do it in the term prior to the next term. You can't
I
raise,
see what
you
you're saying.
cannot raise your own
Yeah, I don't agree
salary
with that.
within your term.
but the way I understand it is, if we're broke next year, they don't get a raise, we don't either.
Right, that's,
If we write in as we mirror it, yeah,
That's the way I understand it. That's why I agreed.
yeah. If we write in that we mirror the other elected officials.
We'll run this by our attorneys too, just to make sure.
Yeah.
I don't want us to get caught up in linguistic conundrum, but I'm very confident.
just, do you have, just so that stuff's not being misinterpreted or not correctly, said? The merge eligibility as far as for the county, it's gonna cost the county is very minimal, correct?
It is because your salaries are very minimal.
I just wanna put that out there, so,
Almost nothing.
okay,
It's a token.
next, next.
Well, the other part of that, as far as compensation, it's probably not gonna apply to the next board too much, but it's buying that you can buy at your own expense health insurance. No,
Oh, I missed that
for-
on there.
For most of us, it's Medicare already anyway, so.
Yeah, we're all over the hill,
Yeah.
except the
Not
baby
yet.
over there.
So why was that put in there? That's not, right now, that's
Well-
not an option. Hold on. Tim, can you answer that?
It's an option. It's usually up to the carrier, whether or not they'll allow you to do that, but ours does.
When we dropped the health insurance, we put that in because at that time I was under 65. And I was buying the insurance at $750 a month. I was buying the insurance from the county.
Yep.
I paid the clerk, charged it off. I don't know, I wrote a check to somebody and I paid for it 100%. But I paid for it out of my own pocket. So I'm just saying that the next term will probably not be affected too much. Let's say like Charlie, for some reason, he needed insurance another way, or even you,
Yep.
and for that matter, you would have the opportunity to buy it at the county's rate, but you have to pay for it 100%.
Yeah, so
That's
it won't
fair.
be any cost to county at all.
Right,
Right.
that's fair.
None.
So
Okay.
just so it's public, that's.
Yeah, I like that part.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Next, Tim?
Next one is the overarching resolution, if you will, that will adopt the budget. And direct your attention to the first page, and that's the millage rates. Part of this, and if you read the legal notice in the paper, you'll see that this meeting, not only do you adopt the budget, but you're establishing the rates that go with that budget. The rates that you see listed here are the maximums that are allowed. So for instance, you've got, the counties, but like Commission on Aging, that one was renewed at 7.75. So you don't see the fraction there anymore. It's the full 0.75. All of the budgets that are under your authority assume right now that maximum rate. But I want to point that out because it is your decision to make sure, these rates match what you want to see assessed. Most of this language is referencing other statutes that tell us how we have to spend certain dollars. For instance, under the Health and Safety Fund Act, we have to put 11/17 of what's allocated to us to actual health and safety funds. It's an odd fraction, but that's what the statute says. There's a few others like that interspersed. There's language in here that talks about tying all of these budgets to the county policies for purchasing, for budgeting, anything financial. Those policies come as a prerequisite to spending in any of the budgets. There is one additional item in here, the next to the last. Be it further resolved. This budget assumes we're moving the sheriff's office to the correctional facility. The paragraph talks about having this accomplished by November 30th. I'll tell you right now that that's a older date. There's no magic to it. I just need to put a date in there. So we'll want to talk about that though, to make sure that this happens. And why this is important is once that move is complete, we will winterize the building they're in right now. That meaning draining the pipes, not running the boilers, that sort of thing, so that we can save some money on utilities that way. The rest of this, frankly, you've seen this now for it's been like the 4th or 5th year that we've had this format. And now it's your discussion.
Commissioners? We've got Commission on Aging, Transit, Veterans, MSU Extension, Road Patrol, Emergency Medical Service Equipment, and Emergency 911 and the Veterans. Those are our millages currently. We've got the rates. Go ahead.
I'm fine with leaving them the way they set.
Commissioner Simmons?
Oh, this doesn't apply to the November elections, what comes out of November election, right?
So if let's use the animal control millages, and if that passes, we will have a companion resolution that will amend this to include it. So then that can be collected in December.
Commissioner Mayhew or Commissioner Simmons, did you have anything? Commissioner Mayhew?
No.
I have a question. What I get hit with at my townships, I'm gonna be brutally honest, is the road patrol. We're collecting one mil out of that right now. I know there's been some staffing changes, issues, shortages, I should say. I know there's 2 people in the academy or headed to the academy. The question that I'm being asked from the public is 24 road patrol going to be back up and running? Do we have a timeline on that? Is there any information you're able to give? Because I get hit with this every township meeting I go to, question. So I'm asking, they're asking if we're collecting all the millage since some of them feel the 24-hour road patrol, is not being, what they thought it would be. Is there a plan in place so that we can relay this? And I'm asking,
Let me come up here.
please.
Manpower, that's huge. That's where we're lacking.
Okay.
Manpower. We're working on that. We're building. If you assess that millage now, you're gonna handcuff us for next year. Then we will be nowhere. We won't have the money to build. Right now, we've got the money to build and we need to build and we're working at it daily to try to build this. We're not the only agency with this problem. It is throughout the country. We're building. Leave the money there so I can build. If you take it away, there's no building.
So is there, again, I'm just, now when are those 2 done?
It'll be done, November.
No, like this November, right?
Yeah.
So is the plan, I'm asking, people are asking
I'm
me.
sorry, I'm just,
Thank you.
I didn't mean to.
So when those 2 are out of school,
Wow.
they're trained, I know the time frame is coming with this, is the plan to have 24-hour road patrol back on the road?
We'll see how we go. We'll see how we work out. I can't promise you nothing. I can't say that it's gonna be up and running then. So we're working hard to get there. Trust me, I don't like to be where I'm at.
People aren't happy with it.
No, well, send them my way, please. If you're getting bombarded with questions, please send them to me. I will talk to them. So I go to the townships too, and I've never once heard anybody ask me about that.
Wow.
Really?
No, have not,
Well, y'all ask me.
have not.
Anybody else
And-
getting, I get at
I'm
least,
I'm the person to ask.
I,
Please send them my way.
Well, you are, but we are the liaison between the township and the county. And they asked us, they do.
and people aren't always comfortable coming to you, and I think that this is our job to get these answers.
Send them my way.
We have
please.
control over this 1 mil, and again, I'm not disagreeing, but what they're asking is the plan moving forward, is there gonna be back to
We've got.
24-hour
Trying hard.
road
Trying to get-
patrol?
We need to have bodies that's gonna come in there and wanna be a cop.
How many positions are we currently down?
How many are we down under sheriff?
Off the top of my head, I'm speculating again. I wish I would have brought the numbers. 3. 3.
That's what you
So
guys
that's these
said.
2?
And 2 are in the academy.
Academy.
2 are in the academy.
And we'll be done in November, so that's not far, and I understand there's training, I get all that, but they're asking these tough questions, and I wanna be able to go back to them to say, 2 are graduating in November, they've got to go through some training, give them a couple months, whatever it takes, I don't know. And that is the plan moving forward, because I can tell you right now, if this doesn't happen, whew. And they are asking every single meeting.
Well, if you remember a few years ago, that millage was assessed.
Yeah, it was.
We paid the price dearly the following year. Right now, the money's there. Let me get a fund balance so I can move forward. That's what I need in order to get some progress here.
Commissioner Simmons?
I agree with the sheriff at this point. I really do, because if you take that money away from him now, he can't build, he can't hire, he can't send people to the academy. He's done. So he'll never have 24-hour road patrol. And your option will be this: if he doesn't come through the next year, you snatch his money.
Well, that's what I'm looking for, is that there's
Not this,
intention,
not now.
that there's intentions
Oh, there is.
to give
on
the
his part.
public, I wanted to hear it, but the public wants to hear it. So then I can take it back to them and say, this came right from you. The intentions is moving forward to get 24-hour road patrol back there.
Absolutely. That's-
Okay.
That's what they want. That's
Yeah.
what they're gonna get. As long as I get the bodies, I've gotta have bodies. I gotta have police officers that wanna be police officers. That problem is throughout the whole country.
I heard it, your intentions, so that's what I wanted to hear.
Comment?
Go ahead.
Because he would never be able to have 24-hour road patrol without that millage. He would never be able to build to it. It would never happen.
I'd be up against a brick wall. is what
You
I'd
would be, yes, you would be. I say, give him a chance to build this and make it happen.
It's fair. Okay, thank you, sir. Next,
I did agree with Brenda.
I assumed, or you could have spoke.
Okay.
Go
Well, I didn't want to speak on third.
You're having a good night, Commissioner Scott.
He is having a good night.
Go ahead.
On the iPads this afternoon, I loaded the latest, it will be the last, well, I can't say that because I got these insurance numbers to enter, but the last, most up-to-date, recommended budget. What I was able to do here just in the last couple of weeks is take a look, one more glance at each position that we have in the county, make sure that the calculations for the wages are correct, but the one that's always problematic about this time of year is to go through and look at the health insurance benefit for each of our employees. Now, we change employees down there, the average turnover, but an employee coming in might have a different health insurance package than the prior employee, so we gotta go in and make that change. Other employees have life changes, they may have been a single person and now have a family plan, that impacts that benefit. So all that's been done, all that's been confirmed. As is typical, when that exercise is finished, it was just about a wash. We have employees coming in who take a lower insurance package and a lower wage that tends to counter the ones that come in with the higher. One big change, we talked about this last week at our budget committee meeting, and that has to do with how we report our legacy costs for the retirement. And this is the retirement funding that we have to go through for employees who are no longer on the payroll, are retired, but we're continuing to pay into MERS. One bit of good news, by the way, I looked at the actuary and we are 82% funded with the most recent actuary. That's 2% better than we were the year before. This is 4 years in a row that our funded ratio has actually increased. So that's very good news. Also looking at the actuary analysis, we are now beginning the downward slide, if you will, when it comes to these outstanding dollars that we have to continue to pay in. They're projecting another bit of a blip at about 28 or 29, but it's still lower than what it is for this year. And then it really starts to drop off, and they do project that we will be 100% funded on every one of the divisions by 2040. So yeah, to give you an idea of how long out that still has to go. But all that being said, rather than breaking this out and showing it in each individual departments in the general fund, it just doesn't make sense because it distorts what it looks like the budget is for departments. So I'm going to use the Register of Deeds as an example. There was a pretty big legacy cost that was tied to that activity, but frankly, it distorts what it looks like we're spending for that function. It's not something that's going on in the office right now. It's just a cost for that retirement. So I put the question to our auditors and to Department of Treasury in Lansing. Why are we breaking it out that way? We know it's a lump sum that is attributed to the general fund. Why do we break it out, 10 different ways? I understand we have to show it in like the transit fund. We have to show it in the friend of the court fund for their specific funds. But the general fund, why go through that exercise and distort all these budgets? The auditor's response, and they did come up with a formula to break all that out, was we don't know. I'm asking for just anybody to point me to a rule or a statute that says we have to do that. We don't know, we're stumped. So I called Treasury and got the same response. We don't know why that's happening. And I've yet to hear back from either of them saying the statute says you must do it this way. There's not even a gap rule that says you have to do it this way. So what I've done with this latest iteration is put that retirement in one line, and you see that under the Department 175, the County General, it's the very top. For the coming year, looking at the actuary for the general fund, its portion would be $1,510,000. Now I rounded it up just to get us a nice round number. But I've also gone through each of these budgets and taken it out of those individual departments. And you're gonna see some drastic reductions, what look like drastic reductions in those departments. But where you see that, look back at the prior year, you'll see why. And it's gonna be tied right back to that number. It's not that they're spending way less, we're just not throwing this in their activity right now and throwing off that cost. Now, we could get to audit time and the auditors might say, oh, we did find the rule. Well, okay, then we'll just do the budget adjustment and we'll spread it out again. That's not gonna be a hard exercise. But for now, I just feel a lot more comfortable being able to show the public, this is what the cost of that department is, the true cost for running it, not the legacy cost that was built over many years prior. Then under the insurance and bonds, 176, I'll be adjusting that to reflect what we saw in the bid that came in tonight. One that you may want to have some dialogue on is the district court. Judge was here at the last meeting and presented the draft budget. I've incorporated those numbers here.
What page is that?
That's
That's what
on
I'm,
page 7.
that's what I'm looking.
By golly, they're all numbers this time.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Page 7 is all district court, both revenues and expenses. And again, you see that drastic reduction, but that's because 220,000 was taken out of this and put into that retirement line. But you can see where all that counts. And this is, I would say, all open for your discussion at the entire budget is. So if you have individual things that you really talk about and make further adjustment, you're free to do so.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, where is that? Yes.
Okay. I've gone through September 18th and as far as how much has been spent so far. In district court, 674,900, so almost 675,000 spent. If you take the 173,511 for the pension and 34,292 for the judge pass-through, that's a $207,000 savings. So you subtract that from the 674, almost 675, you come up with $467,115. And here you got $580,000.
Yeah, I don't know what you've got there, what you're working on.
I got the same thing you have, only I brought it up to date.
You're looking at the year-to-date number?
Through 9/18.
Yeah, so I don't have that in here anywhere.
No, I know you don't. Because we're still dealing with July or something like that. But I wanted to know how much they spent so far. And you take out the pension, you take out the judge pass-through, which is $207,000. So when you take that from what they've spent so far, now I don't think they're gonna spend $100-some thousand the next week or two. So that's $467,000, and you subtract that $207,000 from this $467,000, not $580,000.
Are you taking out, when you say retirement, are you taking out just the defined?
Defined benefit, legacy.
But
cost.
The legacy cost is what.
But the defined contribution you're leaving in?
That's still.
Yeah, it's there. It has to be there.
Yeah, okay, all right.
It's the legacy part that's gotta be taken out of there.
So you're not emptying the line.
No.
Yeah, there's two separate lines for that. You can see the.
There is two separate lines for that.
They always will say retirement DC plan and it'll
Mhm.
always have a 7/16
Okay.
suffix on it.
Okay.
Why am I not seeing that position that she was specifically
Because
talking about?
You don't have,
What they've proposed.
No, hang
is
on.
that line called central services. And they've grouped a few costs in there, and these are costs that we're actually reimbursing Roscommon County for.
and that's for Danielle only.
No.
No, it's
for a
not.
number of
There was several different variables that went into that. Danielle's part of it, but there were other costs, and let's say they're like office supplies and things like that, but there may be other wages. I just don't remember. I don't have it in front of me.
Why did that change from last week to this week? Why did that go in? Why is that going into central services line item?
Well, like I said, I put in what the judge proposed. So that you have that.
I have what she gave us last week.
And that's not in this one, right?
No, it's not that one. It's the one that.
It's
ended up-
not in this one. That's a new line item.
Yeah, right, yes.
Why is that not under what we discussed, that position that we specifically talked about last week, which was 46,000 for us and 46,000 for Roscommon? It was under administrator. And why is
It's
it
under
not?
administrator, and that's how it was broken out when she broke out what the central services number was. So she came up with the 7403 was the total. And she had various lines, let's say about 1,000 or so of them, that
Okay,
and showed you what that
so,
went into that.
but that's primarily, you're looking at the administrator, Medicare, Social Security, healthcare. I'm looking at what she gave us, retirement, vision, longevity, dental, office supplies, travel. Services and contracts. So the only other difference in there that's not related to that position is services and contracts and dues and training, correct?
You've got it in front of you, so I would defer to what you're reading.
Uh,
And another thing I'm looking at, right? And you have a court administrator here, and she does a great job. And because she's here, we're also sending an extra $1,000 for Roscommon County to pay for their magistrates.
15. We paid 3 people $5,000.
I thought it was 2.
3. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. I see the letters,
I think it was,
but that's done. That expires.
or is it gonna happen next year too?
It's not in the budget.
So let's take it out of the Ogemaw County District Court budget, that extra $5,000 for those individuals. I don't think we should pay them up there.
So I guess from what we were told last week, I didn't mean to interrupt, but from what we were told last week is this specific line item. Which is listed under the central, that we have no control over. Which actually we do. It's a line item that we can change.
Right, once you've established this, then it goes to the court and the court does what it does, but you're right, you are the body that sets the budget.
$78,403. I'm gonna be very specific here. This individual, and I don't mean, this is not personal, this is professional. I think this individual's done an amazing job. This is nothing personal, but when this breakdown is here for administrator of $92,000, 46,000 for Ogemaw, 46,000 for Roscommon, and we just went over elected officials' wages. There was only one individual that was making that kind of money.
Is he sitting next to me?
You're speaking of a position, not of a person.
Correct. I apologize. I'm gonna say a position. You're correct. A position. There's only one individual on that list for the elected officials that's making above that rate. I'm not comfortable paying a part-time employee that type of wage. I think afterward, we're talking about wage freezes, no money.
So just to clarify, I mean, we're paying part of the wage, but it's a full-time employee of the court. So her paycheck would be cut by Roscommon County, but it's a full-time court administrator serving 2 counties.
I understand.
Okay,
Doing 2 part-time jobs, a part-time job here at Ogemaw County and a part-time job at Roscommon County.
as long as you understand the difference, it's a full-time job, subject to benefits and everything that goes with a full-time position.
Correct.
Working part of her time here, part of her time in Roscommon.
Correct. So that's on top of, we're talking about wages, or we're talking about all the benefits that go along with this wage. We just laid 10 people off. We're telling elected officials and department heads who's been under a ton of stress this past year. They're getting no wage increases. Again, this is not personal, this is professional. After sitting last week and looking at this breakthrough, I'm not comfortable with that line item. Thoughts, I guess.
Where's the judge's benefits listed?
I don't know that we list the judge's benefits.
Paid for by the state, right?
Right.
Is central services part of that?
No, there's a breakdown right here they gave us last week.
The.
I understand, but
That's individual spot.
It's right here. Central service, $8,403. It's appendix A from last week.
Okay, part of this is a shared, some of this is a shared budget, right?
78,403 is shared. 100% of that is shared.
But our portion is 78,403. Roscommon's portion is 78,403. It's not half of 78,403.
Okay, well, then that's $156,000. You're not talking about one position getting that. Now, is part of the judge's compensation in that? I think this was something we talked about back when Judge Noble was in place. There was shared benefits. I get that, but there was shared benefits because we ran into this issue in the past with a very high number. And it wasn't just one person, it was shared benefits with a number of people,
It's not on that list,
number of positions.
unless I'm missing it or not reading something correctly.
Well, those with institutional memory might be able to tell you. I recall, I'm not sure which judge it was. One of the judges was taking health insurance from Ogemaw. And so
Yes.
that would have had a transaction you would have seen in this budget.
Yeah.
In some way, shape,
Judge Noble, I think, was taken,
I would suspect we were being reimbursed for at least part of that by Roscommon. I'm just guessing, because it was coming from here. That might have been it.
well, with the prior judges were from here. All of them were. Yeah, or the two were here from here, so then we became the one that would pull the money in. Now it's turned around and we're sending the money over there. If it's $156,000, that's not going to one person. Not
Yes.
that central services.
No, 10,800. So take, the only thing that's not going in.
Where's central services on here?
That's the line item on here. It's
Service
exact
contracts,
same
it says.
rate, 78,000.
Service contracts, it says.
It's what we're central. We just. went
Right
over
up
it.
top, it said fill services, 78,403. Total revenue, 78,403, okay. So then total expenditures out. You know, it's just. I don't know what service contracts are.
There's a contract that shared,
Yeah, there's
program.
this
Like
goes,
that.
there is.
One of those lines.
It's shared computer programs.
I had asked you after the meeting, if you had any now what other, court administrators were making outside of our county. Did you gather any of that data?
Asked some of my colleagues. I have not had a chance to follow up with any of them. I'll try to make a point to make sure that we get that too between now and next Thursday, so you have that. It should be something that's pretty easily accessed.
But, comment about that is, you know, you can't compare them to Genesee County or
Right.
Oakland County.
Well,
It's gotta be 4 northern Michigan counties.
This is what I'm asking, like, in the line item, judge's salary pass through, it's zero.
It is now.
Judges. Due to judge wage infringes, zero. So where is it then? If it's zero on those lines, where is it then? That it's the pass through go? Where did it go? The judge is still getting wages and benefits. And, you know, where did it go? It had to go someplace.
Doesn't the state pay the judges?
They do. Where are you seeing that? 'Cause I'm not.
Well, in page 7, about halfway down there, just underneath central services, judge's salary pass through. It is now zero.
Right here.
Yeah, we
And then
asked.
2 lines down, due to Roscommon judge wage infringes, zero.
We asked on that last week and I don't recall the answer. Go ahead.
Judge Beebe is now being paid by Roscommon instead of Ogemaw. And because it's a full reimbursement from the state, it no longer passes through Ogemaw County's budget.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Do you have any other knowledge you can offer on this central services line?
Not, I certainly don't want to speak on behalf of Judge Beebe.
I understand. I truly do, but again, I'm this is not personal, this is professional. I am sure that there is a lot to this job. I'm not denying that. I know there's a lot of responsibility and I know a lot of things have happened over this past year that have been for our benefit. I'm not denying any of that. What I am struggling with is this number. When we have individuals that are, an individual that is retiring, I believe this was said last week, that is, and I clarified with you after the meeting, Tim, that is making this amount with a new, a new position, this individual taking this position. You know, that's hard to swallow. Someone coming into this position, making the same that you're making when you're retiring.
A comment.
Go ahead.
Roscommon County was paying the court administrator $75,000.
Okay, for the full-time position there,
Yes.
okay?
How
And
much? Oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead,
You said how much, say that amount again.
75,000
Oh, okay.
wage. And my understanding was out of our budget, she was being paid 17,000. Is that correct?
Without having the
Plus the two,
program in front of me, I couldn't.
plus
tell
the
you.
$10,000, so that's really 27,000. So so they're taking Roscommon's county administrative position and decreasing that to 46,000. Plus, you know, the benefits and stuff. And those services that you talked about is the sharing of, my understanding is the sharing of computer programs and stuff. So we're all using the same program. So I think that's where that's coming from, because Roscommon County, generally they can pay their employees a lot more than we can pay ours. Because we don't have any money. And they were paying their $75,000, so that's where that came from. I don't like the figure, because when you look at it, it's $92,000 for a court administrator, with Roscommon paying half and us paying half. $46,000 apiece. That's where that all came about, because Roscommon paid a whole lot of money.
That was for a full-time position.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
This
ma'am,
will be
you're
a
right.
full-time position, but we're getting half of that.
Understand.
So half of 75. I
Well,
don't have a
whatever.
problem with that.
I don't have a problem with that either. And I understand that.
I think their magistrates are at that level also.
I have no idea what the magistrates get paid in Roscommon County.
I think they're better than ours.
Do you have anything?
I think everything's better than ours in Roscommon County.
Commissioner Mayhew, go ahead.
It's tough to pay when we ain't paying ours. These people here, they live here, they buy stuff here. It's tough to pay somebody else to come in.
Well, I think the judges have latitude that is outside of ours. Also,
One more comment.
Go ahead.
We have a health department here. And we're paying X amount of dollars to our health officer. And the opportunity came up, there's a health department in the state of Michigan that didn't have a health officer. So our health officer took on that health department, plus our health department. And what that did was, of course, she needed an increase in wages, because now she has two health departments. So came up with a wage, okay, with both health departments. And we pay less, of course, they pay more, because she had to have an increase in wages. We're splitting the cost of the health officer between the two counties, because she's taking care of. So, I mean, this is one district court, but it's two different locations. I don't know how you want to look at it. I think it's a lot of money. I just think it's a lot of money.
Suggestions? Do you
And I
have any?
think, you know, the district court here in Ogemaw County has improved incredibly since, we've had a new, coordinator taking care of the issues that were not being taken care of before.
I don't disagree with that. I agree with that 100%. Commissioner Scott?
I just, I'd have to, I've got a couple questions here that's not getting answered, so I'll have to dive into it.
What kind of questions?
Well, where did these costs go if they're not on those lines? Are they combined in some other line?
Are you
Nobody's.
talking
know
about
for
the
sure.
pass-through? Karen just answered.
Well, yeah, I heard that, but I think there's something more to it. I'm sorry, I don't
Nothing
mean
more
to
to it
say
than
that.
that.
I don't mean to say Karen doesn't know.
Commissioner May, Commissioner May, do you have anything? You want us to vote on this budget by next Thursday, correct?
Right.
Yeah, I think we're gonna need another meeting between now and then.
I do too.
Well, we got a public hearing set for that day,
I understand.
and
Another nice meeting.
30th of the month,
Smith.
sure comes up quick after that.
I think we need to have another, I would like to know what individuals make with similar,
So we're hung up
Duty.
on one person's
No,
salary.
I'm not hung up on one person, sorry, I have some questions.
All right.
You just said you're hung up on some questions.
Yeah, but I'm not hung up on not voting for this budget.
Well, I'm wondering because of the stuff that's not being paid for, and we've only spent X amount of dollars. You know, if we take away the legacy and take away the pass-through,
She's correct, I've seen what she's looking at, I've seen it this week. She is, Commissioner Simmons is correct.
it should come down, you know, that leaves from what they spent to taking those off, $467,000. That's like 468. And you've got on the new budget 580,000, and I don't understand.
Would you guys have another budget meeting?
Add them up.
Do you guys have another budget meeting? On the
Till
books?
the second Friday in October.
Can you guys meet, cause also, when's Commissioner Wiltie due back in?
That's on the
He
ice.
snowed in or something. I got a weird message yesterday. So I'm sure in case he has some questions, I think that's only fair. Are you guys, anybody available Tuesday, Wednesday?
I'm available, you're making call.
Commissioner Scott?
Yeah, yeah.
I think to give Commissioner Wiltie, make sure he's up to date on everything. On the budget, is it majority or super majority vote?
Majority.
Not majority. Used to be super, that won't change.
There were some questions on that before.
Yeah,
that
well,
was
we,
when I was commissioner of the first.
yeah, we found out that it wasn't, and people were telling us it was.
Well, it was, we changed the. rules.
Okay,
Yeah,
anyways.
we were told that he could vote out of state too.
I have a question too. I'm sorry, go ahead. Do you have
A couple other things I'm gonna point out to you, nothing earth shattering. Did you want to do a meeting on Tuesday or Wednesday?
I do, I would like in the
Let me
evening.
ask you, because I gotta post it.
Yes, I would like in the evening meeting.
Tuesday?
Either, it doesn't matter. I'll make it work.
I'd rather have Tuesday than have a day in between. Versus Wednesday and then
Does 5:30 work for you guys Tuesday?
Tuesday work, 5:30.
5:30 works for me.
5:30 Tuesday?
Whatever time you want.
I don't know.
That's 5:30 in the morning, is it?
It can be.
I can do it.
Just a couple of other things I wanted to point out to you. The next one's on page 12 at the top, the school resource officer for West Branch Grove City. There was a different assignment, and this one really demonstrates what I mentioned earlier about making sure I check the wages and the benefits to make sure that they match the employee. I have another officer who's now been assigned to this activity and crunching the numbers. The wage is about the same, but this particular individual on the health insurance takes the single plan versus the family plan, which is about $10,000 difference in this line. And we moved out, with the change of the officers, the retirement, the DB contribution, and that's roughly, geez, looking at the activity through July, I mean, it was already $20,000. So you see the final impact on this, although we have a contract for $75,000 with the school. Right now, our projected expenses are just under $59,000.
Wow.
Whereas with the legacy cost that came with the other person, that really distorted that budget. So this is a really good example, standalone case where just one change like that can make a huge difference.
But I like the budget, you know, I mean, I brought it up through 9/18. And I like that versus up to, was it July, whatever it was, or through. So we didn't have, and, you know, 2-3 weeks can skew these figures significantly.
I can run you an up-to-date across the board so you can see where every department is right now. Well, we're gonna meet on the 24th. We'll run it that morning so you can see where everything is right.
Well, I gotta have some time to look over it.
Sure. We'll run it tomorrow too, and get it out to you. It's pretty easy to do.
Yeah, because this is what we're looking at. The activity goes up to 716.
But that,
Actually, I know how to do.
if there's costs that haven't been paid yet, they're not in there.
Right.
Purchases made that aren't paid for, maybe even some grant things, some grant programs that haven't refunded us yet. So it's to nail down a exact, right down to the penny cost to date, you can't do that.
I don't disagree.
And I
with that.
understand that,
Yeah.
but it shouldn't be, you know,
Too much.
$100,000 difference either,
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, it could be.
within a week.
Sure,
Okay.
if you got something that's not funded yet, that we're waiting on a grant to pay us back. Say we wrote $100,000 worth of purchases for something like the transit alone.
Yeah, well, I don't think.
Okay. Go ahead,
we're gonna
Tim.
Have any grants.
Just a couple of other things to point out. The corrections budget has been modified to reflect the Gladwin numbers. And on page 16, you see the Ray contract, the contracted service line for the animal care. The other sheet, the other special fund sheet, much easier to go through. The only changes in here reflected the different wage steps in the health insurance changes are all reflected in here. These special funds are all self-contained. They all still balance. So those are good. And then the last piece is the position allocation list. All three of these documents are referenced in the appropriation resolution. So when that's passed, these all get passed along with it. Companion documents. This is position allocation list is up to date to reflect what's in this budget right now. It's there for your reference. You've got several pieces of data per position, which would include the annual number of hours they work, whether they're overtime exempt or not, they're affiliated with the union contract, all that data is in there.
I have one question with this sheet right here. I see in the corrections, you have jail administrator.
They do.
If you're gonna be an administrator, I just don't think you should be equal to, you know,
To what?
I just don't think people that are in a union should be administering to people that's in a union should be administering to people and be their boss that's in a union.
The jail administrator is not in the union,
I know that,
okay?
but
we're still gonna work through this with the union. Yeah. We might not have that set up by October 1, but it wouldn't affect the budget at all in terms of compensation. But we'll work through that. Yeah, maybe we can do it, maybe we can't. But let's be open-minded with the union and listen to what they have to say and take it from there.
Well, that's the thing, and
Anything else, Tim?
That's it. Any questions you might have, and I will get the meeting posted for Tuesday at 5:30.
We're hoping Commissioner Wiltie can make it back. Commissioner Scott? Comments?
My first year as commissioner, I didn't agree with a couple things in the budget. And I voted no. Then as I learned, because you do, you can't get hung up on a couple of things. The budget is huge and it encompasses so many different things. And I'm one person and out of five, and you gotta take what you agree with and what you don't, and you gotta put together one decision that covers everything. And so most generally I did. There was a couple of years, there was one year that we, in particular, I think it was your first year, that we changed our mind. Oh, well, one commissioner changed his mind and made a big difference over the whole year. You gotta look at the whole thing, but you gotta look at the majority of what's gonna work for you. You may not agree with one department or one decision or something like that. Other than that, we're right here at deadline. We're at the end of September. We gotta pass a balanced budget to go send to the state. This budget now not only has a balance to it, could finally see something we haven't seen in over 20 years, a fund balance. So
I have one more comment.
Hold on.
I'm in
Commissioner
my
Scott, wait.
comments.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
I'll just stop now.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm done. I'm
Okay.
done.
Commissioner Mayhew, do you have any comments?
I don't. I mean, if you got your budget and you got it balanced, but if they can promote within, the budget don't mean nothing because we can't control it.
If they're promoting from within, it's going to be a position that we already have budgeted. That would be the promotion. There wouldn't be a new position. There'll be one that exists. So you're being promoted from, I don't even know what job we would do. Let's say you're promoted from a deputy to a chief deputy position. Those positions are already in the budget. The only way you get a new position is if you as a board agree to do that. And we're gonna analyze the daylights out of it and make sure it doesn't put us over on a budget someplace before that happens. Any position that's vacated, the department will come to you to let you know that they'd like to fill it first. You would have an opportunity to say, well, no, we don't think we can afford to continue that position. It would just remain vacant. But any promotion that would occur would be to a job that's already in the budget, so it should have no impact on that bottom line. In fact, it might actually improve the bottom line a little bit if they're coming in at a lower rate than the person who was there before. So the person there before might have 15 years, somebody coming in might have 2. So that's gonna be a lower hourly rate to compensate. So we should be fine,
So
but it is
we're
something
gonna
that
have
will
to
be
say-
right on top of it,
If they're gonna promote, we're gonna have to say.
right?
Commissioner Simmons?
Yes, I noticed in this budget, where it says corrections revenue, and you still have diverted felons in there is $120,000. We won't be getting that money. The diverted felons will go to Gladwin County.
I don't believe it will, because it's the diverted felon that we're hosting, and we'll still get charged if we're gonna have that person housed in Gladwin County. We're gonna still see the $30, but the state's gonna pay whatever it is their rate is for the diverted felon. Ogemaw, it's an Ogemaw inmate.
I don't think that's correct.
That's how it was explained to me. We can double
That's
check
not
it.
how it was explained to me.
We need to find that out.
Yep.
That's a lot of
It
money.
is.
Looking under building and grounds, this budget's not getting rid of that custodian, correct?
It does not.
We're maintaining that. I recall the
Maintain.
email you sent through.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Scott.
I was just wondering, where did you hear your information from, Tim? About this?
That was actually my conversation with the administrator of Roscommon when we were negotiating that contract.
Okay.
Better get that from,
Double check.
Brenda, where are you getting yours?
I cannot tell.
Oh, really? Can't ask you in a public meeting, you don't want me to tell, you don't want to tell her her name to me? Okay, I mean, the name to me.
one of the Gladwin County,
Yeah.
commissioners
Okay.
is a lawyer. She's extremely intelligent.
So
I'm sure that
I was told that.
that's important information.
Definitely worthy with that number being checked just to make sure.
Any other comments before I open it to public comment? Scott, do you have anything?
No,
Any public comment? Come on up.
I just want to give a follow-up statement to, my deputies I have on the road. I think when you're asked about if I have 24 hours, I think the first and foremost thing you should say to your people is the sheriff had to lay off 3 deputies last year. And the sheriff is trying to rebuild them 3. I'm down 3 right now, which means if I had them 3, I would be at full staff. So our number one answer to our people is that unfortunately, we had to lay off 3 deputies. And they were very good deputies, and one of which we put to the academy ourselves. So that should be the number one answer. And then your second answer should be, please go talk to the sheriff. Thank you.
Can we give them your phone number?
Yep.
A lot of people don't have time to go to the sheriff's office.
Any other public comment? Public comment on the phone?
I think you're gonna have some public comment on the phone.
I have a question.
Yes.
I gotta ask Tim, on your budget reports, your actuals are of July online. So the reports that Brenda and Jenny have for like district court are as of yesterday. Did you update your actual as of yesterday on your reports that are online?
No.
No, I don't
Okay.
typically do that. So what we'll want to do is we'll run the most current report tomorrow, get it to the board through email, and we can post that on our webpage right next to the budget. And then everybody's got it. Everybody who wants to access it can see it.
Yep, that is the difference between what Brenda was trying to explain and what for the actual and what she was seeing.
Correct.
Well, I don't have actual today. I got actual till July, right?
Go look for it,
You'll have-
like I did.
All you have to do is ask.
Proactive.
Well, I know I can ask for it. I just thought that everybody was looking apples to apples here.
No, you have
With apples and oranges.
you
Go ahead.
have elected officials, department heads, and budget committee members looking at actual as of yesterday. That's the issue. And unfortunately, the Excel spreadsheet online is just out of date. It's just got to be updated. It's not a big deal.
I'm out of date too.
Correct, because we're not on the budget committee. But there is a pretty significant difference from what I have in my hands as well, from what we have from July 16th. I mean, it's 2 months.
I got that figured out. It's 2 months. Yeah.
Any other public comment?
Yes, I do. This is Danielle Janice. I've been trying to unmute myself for quite some time. Can you hear me?
I
Yes.
can. Yep,
So-
go
so-
ahead.
So many things that were said were quite disheartening because I thought that a lot of things were made clear at the last meeting. However, I don't know where to start, and unfortunately now it's in public comment. The shared budget worksheet that you received is my wage, and you do have to pay 50% of the judge's fringe and health benefits. I don't even take county insurance. So that health portion that you see in the shared budget is 50% of Judge Beatty's. In addition to that, the comments made about the pass-through, that is the only thing that is now and forever until another judge comes in and is elected and determines that Ogemaw is their home court, that you won't see that pass-through any longer. But there is a hefty portion that is still having to be reimbursed to Roscommon County for the judge's wage and fringe benefits. And that is what you see in the shared budget. In addition to the service contracts is all the computer software and the subscriptions for the magistrates.
Oh, did we lose service? Are you still?
No, I'm still here. I guess I know that this is public comment and I know that you probably have more questions. And so it's unfortunate that I didn't have the ability to unmute myself when you were going over the budget. But in addition to that, yes, my wage in the shared budget depicts 92,000. I currently make 75 and I have been compensated for the last year 17,000 additionally to take on Ogemaw County. I will not continue to take on Ogemaw County at just my 75,000, and that's fine. If that's what you guys choose to do is to replace the court administrator, you also need to then factor in adding in a full salary in the court admin wage, another health and benefit package, retirement. The reason why the district court hasn't expended all of their expenditures yet, one, we have a vacancy since the beginning of July, and two, because we hadn't deducted what isn't being spent from the pre-existing court administrator's wages and health benefits. Does that make sense?
Say that one more time.
Currently, our budget that was adopted or, passed for fiscal year 23-24 still had what a full court administrator's wage would be, still had a unused health benefits package, an unused retirement package, and we've had a vacancy in our office since the beginning of July for a clerk's position.
Right, that was said last week.
That's still that budget. I didn't have those.
Yeah, we didn't lower the budget.
I didn't notice that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So you're welcome.
Thank you for that clarification. That service contract is the $10,135 and the $800. That is listed here.
Yep. Yes,
I didn't
correct.
realize that these benefits, I think that was part of my questions as far as these benefits that listed, if this goes with that certain position from what she gave us last week. And it's not
Yes.
just that position is what she's saying. It's
Not. It's Judge Beebe's pass through as well. So if you see, for your benefit, I provided that shared budget breakdown, that extra sheet, that will exist within Roscommon's, BSNA software.
right.
I, as a courtesy, provided it to all of you so that you knew what, the $70,000 number comprised of.
Right, it's saying that we're gonna pay 78,403 and Roscommon's paying 78,003. That sheet reciprocates that.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other public comment? Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
All in favor, say aye. Oops, did somebody else want to, Denise, did you want to talk? I'm sorry.
Yes, if I have an opportunity.
Go ahead. You do, I'm sorry. We didn't say aye yet.
Okay. In the budget meeting, the district court administrator was the one that told us that the diverted felon fee goes to the housing jail. Also, in the Roscommon contract, it stated that they would not charge Ogemaw County for diverted felons because they would be collecting the fee from the state. So that's where we got the information from.
We'll clarify.
We definitely need clarification on that. Thanks, Denise.
You're welcome.
Any other public comment? All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, 7:33. Are you good, Commissioner Scott? You good?
Yeah, just sitting here quiet.
I know, that's what has me worried.
Yeah.